So today is what I'm going to do is do a quick session, and I'm calling these Canvas mini sessions when they aren't necessarily always going to go 30 minutes. And this is about using workarounds whatever Google Docs and Canvas are mad at each other. And sometimes that happens. And if you're a Canvas user, you may have already experienced that. I even had to put up an announcement last night or yesterday about some crankiness that was going on. And the thing about this is sometimes it could be Canvas's fault, but sometimes it's Google's fault whenever things are not working right. Overall, the reliability of this Canvas and Google integration is very good, but there are periods here and there over the last several years where they have a falling out, and we're seeing that now. And honestly, I have to say that I think some of that may be caused by the stress that's being put on both Canvas and Google around the world. There are so many people using these platforms that I don't know that this isn't just a bug currently based on what's happening around the world. However, the thing is, though, your work is still continuing, things you want to get out to the kids or you want to collect from the kids, just because it goes down for a little bit, what do you do? So I thought it might be a good idea to offer you some ideas to work around temporarily until Canvas and Google are playing together more nicely. So I'm going to click on, we got two more people. Let me admit them. All right, they're coming in right now. Hi there, Jeanette and Elizabeth. I was just getting done talking about our session today, our little mini session on when Canvas and Google are not quite interacting the right way. And to kind of paraphrase what I just told the rest of them, most of the time it's a fairly reliable thing. And it could be one system or the other. It could be Canvas or Google. But right now, I honestly think there's just a lot of stress around the world where so many people are trying to use both platforms. And so what do you do when that happens as far as a workaround as you keep trying to deliver your content or to collect stuff back from the kids? So for our new user, I know we have a new user too here. I'm going to kind of explain as I go. I have in Canvas, I always teach everybody to organize in modules. And modules are the way that you kind of group everything together. And when I explain it to people, I say that the modules are like the chapters in a book. So your course is the book. The modules are the chapters. And then inside each chapter, you have the pages and the individual items. And so I've created a module here called When Canvas and Google Drive Get Mad at Each Other. Then inside of this, I have individual items that we're going to kind of go down through. And I've organized my module this way. Let me just double check and make sure nobody else is waiting to get in. So the first thing I'm going to do is to talk about the workaround documentation. Have any of you who are Canvas users, did you see my announcement about Canvas and Google having some problems? It should have been on your dashboard if you're a regular user. Just say yes if that's something. You can use the chat. Say yes if you saw that announcement. So guys, I do try to put announcements up. Okay, great. Elizabeth and Adriana both said they saw it. I do try as soon as possible to get an announcement up so that both teachers and students know what's going on. And even if it just says, hey, we know about it, we're working on it, I figure that's a relief to you guys to understand that something's happening. And then when I realized it wasn't a quick fix, I then put up this link to this document. I put this document together for people to say, here's what you can do to work around. And so you always have the option to take this document and use it to go through on your own, but I thought I would walk through some of the items that I talk about here to help you get through whenever Canvas and Google aren't working right. And so, first of all, I'm going to go back to the modules. So what are the things that happen? So when Canvas and Google are not working, normally what you can do in Canvas, maybe I should say this, preface it. The great thing about it is that wherever you see the box where you type, and we call that the rich content editor in Canvas. And the box where you can type text and boldface and italicize and do all that also has a section where you are able to embed Google Documents, Google Slides, a lot of good stuff through something called an external tool. And normally it'll plop that slide deck right down inside, or as in the case as you just saw, and we've got somebody joining us here, if you look at this, I took a Google document, and I embedded it on this page. And so it makes a very nice visual, for one. It keeps the kids contained, self-contained to this page so that they are able to read whatever it is that you're trying to give them. And it's a really wonderful tool and function. You can also do the same thing in assignments and discussions and quizzes, for that matter. At any point, if you have that rich content editor box, you are able to pop that in. And I'm going to go ahead and click edit so you can see what I'm talking about here. We had somebody else join. So when I talk about rich content editor box, I'm talking about this box right here. Okay? So we have this box, and then we have all these different items on the toolbar. But the external tools, it says more external tools, is the one that I mentioned. And so I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't seen the announcement and you use Google and Canvas, you are talking about going down to Google Apps. It allows you to browse into your drive. And I'm kind of saying all this for the benefit of some of our newer people here. I know some of you are experts at this part. But it'll allow you to go in, find a document, a slide deck, or whatever, and pop it into this box, okay? And then you save it. And that's how you end up with this beautiful embedded document in this case. So when workarounds for when Google tools are misbehaving. So we have this embedded document. But here's the problem. When Google and Canvas are not working well, you may get a message that says the LTI tool is misconfigured. You may get that blue authorize button down here in the lower left corner, and then no matter how many times you click authorize, it just keeps telling you to authorize. When that happens, there's something going on. Something's down. Obviously, you want to let me know about it so I can check into it because I may not know yet. But the other thing is, so how do you keep working while this is going on? So I'm going to come back over here to modules, and we're going to talk about some different components, all right? So what are your options whenever you as teachers are trying to just share out some content with the kids? What are your workarounds? We'll take a look at that. Then we're going to take a look at how you set up assignment settings if the kids are not able to turn something in through Google. We're going to look at that. And we're also going to talk about how you can make a template. A lot of you have been using the assignment function to be able to make a copy of a Google item for students. Well, when Google and Canvas aren't working well for whatever reason, then obviously you can't do that. So how do you get the kids that copy of that template, make a copy? How do you get that to them? So we're going to look at that too. So let's start with you, the teacher. You're just wanting to share out information. You have a document, a slide deck, or whatever, you just want to share it. So it's not as pretty, obviously. But if worse comes to worse, instead of having that nice embedded document, you can put a direct link out to the document that you want to share with students. Remember, I said this is a temporary workaround while whatever it is going on either gets fixed or gets sorted out in some fashion. So in this case, you can see that I put a link to a document. So I'm going to click on it, but there's a problem. So keep in mind that whenever you have to resort to a direct link in Canvas to a document, you can put the link in, but guess what else you have to do? You have to remember, I'm going to check over here, make sure nobody else has joined. You also have to change that document sharing permissions. See, that's the beauty about the embedded document. When you embed through that external tool function like I showed you a second ago, that little V, I think it's like that, it brings that permission automatically. But if you have to do the workaround and be like, okay, I can't embed, it won't go to my Google Drive no matter what I do, can't get Canvas to authorize it, you're going to put that link in here. But you got to remember to change those document settings. So just as a refresher for anybody that's not sure about that, just real quick, we're going to take a look at some of these settings and all. When you create a document, all right, when you make it, it's only shared with you, so to speak. You're the only one that can view it. You have got to take that item and you've got to change the settings in it so that other people can view. And that's the important thing. You've got to change the settings. So if I right-click on an item in my drive, and I don't recommend get shareable link, it can be a little confusing. You want to go to share, just a refresher for anybody that's not done this very often. You want to get that shareable link, okay? And that's where you've got to change the settings. Until I did that, this may not have said anyone at Fayette County. In fact, it doesn't. It was only with me. So I've got to make sure it at least says anyone at Fayette County Schools can view and see my documents. Because remember, I'm only talking about I, the teacher, I'm just going to share. Got somebody else hopping in. Wanting to share content. I don't want the kids to do anything with it. I just want them to read it, absorb it, look at it, whatever. So I'd have to make sure I either get that shareable link and set it up, and it'll automatically default to Fayette County Public Schools, or you also have the option of anyone with the link. That's another option. Do not use public on the web. It becomes searchable on an internet search. I do not recommend that. Anyone with the link can be good because sometimes we have weird glitchy things in Google where you might have 1 or 2 students in the whole class that just can't access the doc. Most of the time it's just fine. But whatever it is you want to set up, you're going to click Save. You notice it says View and Save. So when you do that, that's when that link is the one that you're going to copy over into your page. You're going to create a page. You're going to paste that link in. And you're going to put the link in with the correct permissions. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to see if anybody has any questions or anything you want to show me to show you again. So you can use the chat or whatever. So if you're experienced Canvas users, or maybe I should say if you're experienced Google users, you know about changing the sharing permissions. The only thing about if you have to use this as a temporary workaround for an embedded document, you're used to those permissions coming with that external tool and being okay. If you have to resort to pasting a link as a temporary workaround, you got to make sure you change the document sharing permissions so that you're using the correct link for the kids. So that's kind of point number 1 there. So I'm going to click on Modules and go back to the next item on our list. All right. So as you can see here, changing Google permissions. So if I go back and I take that item in my drive, now, like I said, I like share. Let's say I copy this link, I come back, I paste it in. All right. So while I'm talking about this, you see that's a pasted link, and I've got to highlight it, and I need to click the little chain link and paste it in. It's not like Google where it can automatically sort of register. Even with Google, it usually pops up and you have to paste that in anyway. And if I save it, there it is, okay? So it should be good to go. But I'm going to make a, hold on, let me pull this one thing up here. I have logged in as a student over here, and I'm going to drag my student screen. You can see I'm in incognito because it's all black up here. So if I click on Modules, and you know I was working in that page with changing Google permissions, I just pasted that link in, if you remember. If I did it correctly, the student shouldn't get that message about you need authorization. This is what the student should now see. If you change the permissions correctly, the child should be able to get to the document in question. So I'm going to drag this off, bring it back over here. So while I'm talking about it, I'm just going to talk about kind of a best practice in my opinion. I would really recommend that when you set up a page, so that you don't have to deal with the aggravation that comes with all of a sudden Google just stops working, I'm going to make the recommendation that anytime you bring in something from your Google Drive to share with students, okay, I'm just going to make this recommendation. Make sure I'm getting the correct one. When you embed, I'm going to recommend that you not only embed your item. So here's this beautiful embed. I think it's good practice and a good habit, and it's going to be less aggravation for you If you also teach, you go ahead and always include the direct link. I say less aggravation. Let's face it. I mean, I guess that's relative because as you see, it automatically came in and it's viewable and it's going to be great for the students. For you to generate a sharing link is that extra step that you've been avoiding by using Embed. However, maybe I should say it this way. During NTI, and while we have so many crazy things going on in the world, it might be good practice during NTI to put that link to the document or item as well and teach the kids and say, guys, if the embed is not there, then use that link. This is not normally something I think you have to do, but during the NTI, maybe it's a good practice. I'm just putting it out there. You don't have to do it. If the kids come back and report that they're having a problem, you could pop it in then. Yes, question? Oh, I thought I heard somebody unmuting. If anybody has a question anytime, please feel free to either unmute or use the chat. All right, so I'm going to come back over to modules. And that's all about sharing a link. When the embed function is not working, how do you generate a link to give the content to the kids? All right, so that's part one. What do you do if you have an assignment? And this happened the other day. I had a teacher contact me, and she said, my kids, they can't submit right. We've got all these problems and so forth. Well, it's because of all the issues. And I'm going to look over here. Jennifer's asked a question, so let me look over. Okay, Jennifer, you're actually talking about the next step, the next thing I'm getting ready to show everybody. Okay, exactly. So let's talk about assignments. So first of all, it's all about when we make an assignment for a student, okay? You create an assignment, and I'll just call this test assignment for you, okay? I'm going to add this item. I'm going to publish it. I'm going to drag it up here. Make this first, okay? So here I've got my test assignment, and what teachers usually love about Canvas assignments is you can do the make a copy feature with external tools, okay? So you would come into your assignment and you would put directions. I'm kind of going a little bit over for the people that joined recently. We have a couple of people on the newer end of using Canvas, so I'm kind of explaining some extra things as I go. You can add your points, fix that, whatever. And we know that in the assignment, the kids can't submit anything unless you change it from no submission to something else, okay? Now, if you're trying to give a copy of something to students, whether it's a document, a Google slide deck, whatever, and you want the kids to have their own copy where they don't write on yours and where each kid gets their own separate copy, we usually use external tool. We look for the Google Apps, or the Google, in this case, Google Drive Cloud Assignment, I should say. We browse into our drive to find the template that we want to use. We'll assume that I knew the name of what I wanted to use. So I can pick something and click Submit. Okay? Then I have to click Select. I can go down and give it a due date and click Save. Okay? So now let me bring my little student back. I'm going to drag my screen over, close that, and go back to this page. Actually, I'll go back to Modules. Let me refresh it. There it is, Test Assignment. I actually think it was there. I'll click on it as the student. Interesting. So this is what's happening sometimes. Let's see if it's going to be okay. I'm glad you saw that. So do you see right here? That should have brought that up, and the kids should have been able to see it. So I think I set everything up correctly. So this is the perfect situation And this has to be because of all the demand on the system. Okay, so this is a perfect example when a kid they can't get your template, right? Oh, it says I chose something wrong. Oops, hold on. That would be a problem then. Just a second. How I managed to get a hold of something that wasn't mine. The other thing we've noticed some is sometimes the cloud assignment is missing on the list. And so the little workaround is drive.google.com. And there it is. So if that happens to you, just saw a little workaround at the Google Docs cloud assignment kind of disappears temporarily from your list. All right. Let's try this again. Okay, finally. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff, right? This is nothing special. In fact, that's something I make stuff with. And save it. Let me check and make sure it looks okay. Okay, so I can see that as teacher, it's working for me. Let me bring that student back. Seriously. No, there's something wrong with the test student. That is, so because you can see I've attached it and it's fine. So what you saw on that screen with the test student is exactly what we're running into here and there. And it's not every student. It's not consistent. I mean, sometimes it's everybody, but most of the time what we're seeing is just really spotty. And probably some of you have already encountered that. I think, Jennifer, you've already encountered that, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, so what happens? So, you know, normally we come in, we connect this external tool. The kids would click submit assignment. They would have a copy of it. It's all beautiful and good to go. But the problem is you just saw this student could not get to it. It wasn't working for them. So what do you do to try to work around that? Well, first of all, you have to think about, okay, I've had students report that they cannot get the copy, the template that I gave them. So how do I get around that? And this also applies too for any situation where the students are having problems submitting the assignment. Even if you chose not to do an external tool, we've had some students report they cannot submit through the traditional browse into their Google Drive. Because as you can see from my student over here, my little fake student, he can't even get into Google to connect his assignment. It wouldn't matter if it was an external tool or not. He can't even get in. So what do you do? So the first thing you have to do is when you set up your assignment, you have to choose the correct settings for the kids to submit. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go to Edit. And you remember we talked about, you know, you're going to put your stuff in here. You're going to assign your points. The main thing here is submission type. So there are two submissions, online and external tool. External tool is what I just showed you, which was the make a copy. It's not working. But guess what? Sometimes the online is not working. The online is where the kids can go and they can, you can set it up so they can browse into their Google Drive and they could write on their own and make it there, and then they would come and attach it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that if you're having trouble, any reports at all of kids telling you they cannot submit any type or get to any type of Google item to submit, you're going to have to choose online. And I teach everybody that if you want to connect Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and all that, we click website URL, correct? I'm going to say right now that you should always, just as a default, also select file uploads, but I'm also going to say text entry. Now, I used to tell people not to use text entry, and there's some reasons, because in speed graders, you can't really grade a text entry. But the important thing about the text entry is this. If the kids can go to their Google Drive and get to their stuff, but they can't browse it in through Canvas, they can grab a link to their document over in Google Drive, give permission, obviously set the sharing permission so that you, the teacher, can view it. And in the text entry box, they can paste in that link. And I see where Jennifer has said that you always do the text entry and the file uploads. Website URL, Jennifer, is what allows them to browse into Google Drive. And I was going to use my test student to show you, but obviously it's been a little uncooperative over here. But I'm going to tell you that in case, I think just automatically you should always click check text entry in case Google Drive is having an issue. We're going to come down, you do your due date, we'll save it. So just out of random curiosity, I want to see what my Google test student does. If I go back and go into that item. Okay. Well, this part's so far so good. The student can see where they need to click Submit Assignment. If there's anybody new here that's newer on the end of Canvas, a student would come in and see this. They have to click Submit Assignment. Now, Jennifer, you said you've been doing text entry and file uploads. You know what happens when you click Website URL? You get Google Drive. You get Office 365. You actually get other things too. But normally, the kids can browse into the Google Drive. Let's see what happens. When this is working correctly and the kid is authorized and he's having no issues, he's able to go into Google Drive just like you saw me do a little while ago. Remember, I went in and I grabbed that document and you saw me embed it. So this is exactly what the kids are encountering, some of them. And obviously my test student has this happening. So here's this test student going, my teacher wants my assignment, and I've got it over here in Google Drive. Like, you didn't give them like a make a copy. You just told them, hey, go to your Google Drive, create a document, answer these questions. Kid's like, I've got it over here. I can go to my drive. Like, I can get there. But for some reason, I can't submit. Look, I can't browse in. So then you've got the kids in a panic, and they're blowing up your email or whatever, trying to get a hold of you to tell you there's an issue. All right? So let me show you exactly what that looks like. You can see right here on this screen, it says I clicked authorize, it won't do it. It won't let me browse into Google Drive as a student. But if I pull this over here, look. My student can get into Google Drive, can he? He's there. He can do all that. He can grab a link to something and all. So they see there's his picture. He's Google One. So he could go get that link. And you may have to teach the kids this or give them some written documentation if they're new. But most of the kids are starting to learn how to share a link. They're going to get a shareable link. You could do the Fayette County, copy the link, and done. So then they come back to the course, and they're like, well, I can't get to Google Drive. It won't let me. What they are able to do, if they click text entry, they can paste their link in, highlight it, and click the little chain link, the link to URL, paste it in, and when they submit that to you, it's not as pretty as what comes into usually the speed grader, but they got it submitted to you, the teacher. So let's go look at that. What does that look like to the teacher? Now remember, just going back over that, we click the settings so that the students are able to use a text entry box to paste in a link to their Google item to submit to you, the teacher. So let's go look. So I'm the teacher. I'm on the assignment. I'm going to open SpeedGrader. And I realize if you are somebody that has not used Canvas a lot or you have not done a lot of assignments, this may be a lot of information. And this session was really geared a little bit more to people that have been using it and stuff. But that's okay. You'll have the video. Remember, we also have written instructions. But see, now as teacher, I at least can click on that and see what the kids submitted, which in this case, I just grabbed something random. But see, as teacher, I can get to it now, whereas before the kid couldn't even submit it. So let me close that. And obviously, those of you that are used to using SpeedGrader, because it's a text entry box with just a link, you don't get all the cool markup tools. But you know what? We're talking about in a pinch, how do you work around a problem? So you can put your comments over here. You can record a comment, attach a file, all of that stuff, and you can give a grade. So I'm going to stop and see if there are any questions. Use the chat or unmute if you prefer, whichever one. I'm checking over here to the side. Okay. All right. So we're back. So I'm going to come back to modules. So let's recap just a little bit. I talked about you as the teacher delivering content. If Google Drive is not letting you go in and embed that document, you grab a link and you paste it in, and at least the kids can go to it that way, assuming there's not a 100% total breakdown of Google somewhere. If that's the case, there's nobody going to have any luck. Then after that, what we've been talking about is how do you work around an assignment situation, okay? In an assignment situation, if Google Drive is broken down, first thing for the kids to submit, first thing is you've got to enable the settings for the text box entry. You have to, because the text box allows them, as I showed you, it allows the kids to come in and paste that link in, hyperlink it, and submit. They at least get it to you, assuming Google Drive is good and it's working and stuff. Now, there are some of you, though, that love the external tool function of where you make a copy. How many of you, put in the chat if you use the external tool to have the kids make their own copy of a Google Docs Cloud assignment? What I showed you a little while ago. Who all uses that? Elizabeth, sometimes you use it? I know what Jennifer said. Now, Jennifer is using the method I'm getting ready to show you. Okay, Patty just figured it out. It's an awesome tool, and it works most of the time. Like I said, I think these are some unique circumstances. So what's the workaround for you have this template. You've made this beautiful template, and you want to give it to the kids. You've laid it out, and you want the kids to be able to make a copy and then fill out this template. What do? So that's called force a copy. You can take Google Items, and you can change one little tiny thing in the link, and you can make it force a copy. So let me click on this. Open it up, force a copy. All right, so as teacher here, you can see it says force a copy, doc and slides. But you know what? I want you to see it as a student. So I'm going to go back to modules, and I'm bringing my kid over, and I want to click on that, force a copy for students. So what does this look like to a student? It says force a copy of a doc and slides, for example, the two most common things. This setting that I'm going to show you in just a second, this is what it's going to look like to the student. It says make a copy. When they click that, it will make a copy of your template. It will pop it into their Google Drive. All right? It's going to pop it into their drive. So now that they have this, they could totally change this, mess it up, do whatever. Obviously, this isn't a good example of the template. I was realizing I was rushing, and I realized I wanted to have that example, something to show you. But now you can see this student has a copy of NTI best practices, and it lives in their Google Drive now. So if that kid wants to come in and type and make it their own, they can do so. Then what they can do is then they can submit the assignment back to you. And they can either try to submit it through the regular browse in and grab it and submit it, or if Google's still having an issue with Canvas for some reason, they can go to that share. This is another way to get it, and get that shareable link. Okay? They copy that, and remember that's where they're going to come back. Once they finished it, they're going to paste it into your submit assignment area, and they're going to have to paste it into that text box entry. All right? So just showing you that. So let me show you the slides. You click on it, make a copy. Kid's going to say, okay, click on it, make a copy. And sorry, oh, I know, I'm touching my face. That's a bad idea. I did wash my hands right before this. I should be safe, hopefully. So use this template for your assignment. And so you could lay out a slide deck or something and have, I'm thinking like a science journal or something like that. So I'm going to stop for a second before I show you how to do that. Any questions? I hope it's helpful for me to show you the student side of things, because I think that's the one thing sometimes teachers struggle with in Canvas is looking at how it appears to kids. All right, do they have to change the settings of their copy to can edit when they submit their document so I can grade it? No. And since you're just grading it, unless you want to be able to edit it, okay, maybe I should say that. Normally most teachers need it to view. And typically when they submit it into Canvas, you use SpeedGrader to mark it up, add text comments and all that. When we have to use the text box and paste a link in, though, you saw, I showed you a minute ago how that's gone. It's not there for you. If you want the ability to edit, you know what? I think, Jennifer, Jennifer, you asked that. I was just thinking about this as I'm thinking that through. I think you still, on a viewable copy of their item, you can still make comments. You know how you can make comments on something? You'll still be able to go up and add a comment. You don't need to be able to edit to make a comment on the doc, I don't believe. So you would just be doing it in the Google Doc itself instead of being able to use SpeedGrader like you normally do. Does that make sense? You're wanting to be able to highlight and strike through? Okay. So if Google's not behaving and it's being a jerk with Canvas, then, and you want, and the kids, you're like, hey kids, we're having an issue. I want you to do this. You know, I'm going to force you to make a copy. Then you need to also put directions to them and say, when you give me the shareable link, I need you to make sure that you allow me to edit your document. Does that make sense? And I'll pull that back over. Is that what you've been doing? Okay. So what she's talking about, guys, so if the kids, and I'll just make a second copy, I don't care. So when the kid gets ready to share that back with you, the teacher, she wants to be able to strike through to literally mark on the item, whether it's slides or doc or whatever. So if that's the case, if you're wanting that degree of ability to edit and mark on the student's item, they're going to click share. They're going to get that shareable link. Now remember, it's always a default of CanView. That's always the default. You have to change it off of that. If you just care about them submitting the link so you can put that grade over on the right side and write a little comment, that's all they need to do is copy that link. If you're wanting what Jennifer wants, the degree of marking up, you need to tell the kids to change it to can edit, then copy that link. And that's what you've been doing, Jennifer, is what you're saying? Okay, all right. And that's good because some of y'all may think of that, and now that Jennifer brought up and asked the question, you now have that at your fingertips. So I'm going to come back to modules and bring it back to the list. So how do you do that? How do you force that item so that you have something that you can paste in that forces that link? So let's talk about it. So I'm going to click done. Now we're back in my drive, as you can see up here on the right. So let's say you find the item that you want to use as a template with the students. And Google and Canvas aren't behaving. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to force a copy. All right. So what you do is, you can see I've made a little force a copy doc here. So all you have to do is click share. You go to shareable link. Remember how I said it's always CanView is the default setting. And you copy that link. And you could also change that to anyone can view. So it's whichever your preference and need is. So I come back and let's say I'm like, okay, I'm going to create this assignment. So I'm going to call it test. I'm going to publish it so my student can do it in a second. So you're like, okay, I'm going to give the kids directions to this, or they've told me that Google is not acting right and they can't get the template for whatever reason. So you come back in and you edit your assignment and you're like, okay, guys, here's the link to use to make your own copy. Whatever directions you would tell the kids, you would paste it in. But you remember how before we were ready to just hyperlink it? You don't want to do that. You need to force a copy. Do you see where it says edit right here? And I'm going to slow down. You see that word edit? To turn this into something where you're going to force a copy to be made of this document, we have to change the word edit. and we have to change the word edit to the word copy. See it? You just take the word edit and replace it with copy. Then you're ready to hyperlink, okay? Click the little link, and actually I need a Control-C. I've got to make sure I copy it. Hyperlink it, Control-V. Notice how it says copy right there? Insert the link. I'm going to save it. And now let's see what happens to my little student when he does it. Let me find this. Bring it back over. So here's my test student. I'm going to go to modules. I'm going to go to that force a copy test that I set up. That's the assignment I had to change because the kids said, hey, it's not working for me to make a copy. So you force a copy. See what happened? Now the student has to make his or her own copy. The same thing is the case for a slide deck. So see, now the kid has their own copy. It's popped it into their Google Drive. They are now able to submit, and if they have to, they can submit it through that text box setting that you chose, and they can paste in their link, and they can change whatever settings on the permission sharing, depending on what you tell them to do, and then they're going to hyperlink it and submit. And then you're going to have the ability to get their doc unless Google's had a total breakdown, maybe a nervous breakdown worldwide. Okay, let me stop. Questions?
I just want to double check on that, Paula, that if
yes.
you, there was too much noise downstairs, so sorry I was using the chat. But,
okay.
When you make the copy, that means that they make their own copy, right? So everybody has that link, but they're not, it's not the same shared document.
Exactly. They're not writing on yours, and each kid has their own separate copy.
Okay. Yep. I didn't know. That's not what I've been doing, so I love that option.
Have you been using the external tool function?
No, I didn't know about that. So
okay. Well,
I came in late, so I missed where you did the thing. So I'm going to have to go back and if you're putting this on video, I'll have to watch that later.
I have it set to record. It should be recording. Okay. It may take me tonight to get it rendered. Oh my gosh, it's taken forever to get videos rendered and uploaded to YouTube. So you may have to check back tomorrow morning, but assuming it videotaped okay, I should have that video ready to go, okay?
Okay.
And have that for you. Great. All right. So if I come back and let's say I look in my drive, and I'm going to repeat this in case anybody would like to see that again. All right. And I want to look for force a copy, and I have a slide item in here somewhere that I put together. And Elizabeth, I see you have a question. I'm going to come back. Let me open this. Let me see your question while that's opening. Let me get rid of this. All right. As far as the slide master, Elizabeth, that whether you use external tool when it's working, fine, or if you use the force make a copy, they are not writing on your master template. Your slide master is fine. So your original will not be written on. Great. And then Patty, oh, okay, Patty, great. Yeah, you can check out the rest of the video. So I think she may have already left. All right. Oh, we got somebody joining really late here. I'll admit her, but. Hey, Alexandra. We're going to be wrapping up just a little bit and just like on the verge of 2 seconds from now. So you can always watch the video, just FYI, that I will get ready and up and probably in place by tomorrow morning. So guys, here is the science journal for those of you that might be elementary, although to be honest, I think most of you are high school. And by the way, my background is high school. I was high school English. But I always try to make an effort to think of all the levels when I do it. So this is what I want to do. I want to share with the kids. So I click share. I've got to get that shareable link. So I'm repeating it, what I did for force a copy, make a copy, but I'm doing it with a slide deck this time. So I'm just going to go with anyone in Fayette County can view. I'm going to copy that link. So now I'm ready to come back to my assignment. And as I said, and honestly, I've got some teachers, they never use the external tool. They only use make a copy. Jennifer, I think that might be what you're doing. Okay? And that's fine. If you don't want to use the external tool, that's fine. I like it. There's different reasons why I like it. I can always tell you privately if you ever want to reach out and let's talk. But, you know, sometimes these things happen, and that means Jennifer may have fewer headaches because she's doing this. So this time, I'm just going to update this existing thing I've been using. So I'm going to paste this in, but remember how we have to change the edit right here? We can't have that, so we've got to change that, and we've got to call it copy. So once I do that, I've changed it to copy, right? Now I need to copy this entire string. Remember, I've done it over. If I try to copy in what I had a minute ago, it's going to change what happens. So I'm going to Control-C that. I'm going to click the little chain link and paste it in. I'm going to insert my link. Then I'm going to go down and save. And then Jennifer, I see you've written a comment. I'm going to come back to it. And while that's updating, I'm going to bring my little student over. I'm going to refresh this because I've just added that new link. So see how the student gets it? Make a copy. Now, if I did that correctly, the kid should be good to go, and he is. Good. Make a copy. And so now the student can make that copy, pop it into their own drive. And just as an FYI, guys, I personally think it's, some people like to paste in the whole string, and this is a total aside, you know, but you could always, as the teacher, if you wanted to, you don't have to paste that entire string if you don't want to, if you don't like the looks of it. If you're experienced, you probably already know this, but you could hyperlink just the words to keep it more attractive on your page. And if you do that, the student, it's just a nicer look. I'm kind of a big fan of that. But if you're afraid that the kids need to see the entire link, that's obviously an option for you. So just showing you that. Okay. So let me see. Oh, you didn't know what the options were, Jennifer? Yeah, definitely. The external tool, you can use external two ways, as you saw. It's one way in an assignment for kids to be able to browse in their, for you to give them that template, make a copy, and for them to have an automatic copy. But the other way the external tool can be used is in the rich content editor box, so that you, the teacher, can embed something into a page. And I love that function a lot.
I've been doing that with what I teach. The problem is that the kids don't know how to insert accent marks, teaching French.
Oh,
and so that's where
yes.
the Google Docs has been better, because then I'm like, okay, insert special characters, change symbols to Latin, and then you can do it that way. So, you know, because they keep trying to give me these excuses. I can't put accent marks. I can't put accent marks. You just spent 20 minutes typing to me. I don't know how to put accent marks in. So here's the way around that. So that's the yeah.
Yes, you have a unique situation in your circumstance for sure. Yeah, definitely so. So this has kind of wrapped up all the things I was showing you, but I want to come back and kind of come back to where we started. If I go back to the workaround documentation, I basically just worked through this document. And once again, if you joined us late, this is an embedded document from Google Drive here that I, as teacher, I'm delivering in this sense, I look at it as I'm delivering content to you guys. But I went through all of these items for you. And so if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, Paula just did all this stuff and I'm going to rewatch all this video, maybe I don't want to do that. So one is I want to show you how you can get back to this document, all right? So I don't know how many of you all know this, but if you've noticed at the bottom in Canvas, there's the Help button in the blue sidebar, the navigation menu. And you may have looked at the Canvas guides. You may even call it the Canvas Support Hotline. But I don't know how many of you looked at FCPS Help for Canvas. So when I make an announcement, and I made an announcement the other day with a link to this document, Workarounds for When Google Tools Are Misbehaving, I put an announcement, and it should have appeared on your dashboard. However, once you close the announcement, it's gone. You can't get it back. So what I do is I make a copy of all these announcements and stuff, and I place them on this FCPS Canvas site. So as you can see, this is a featured item. Just while I'm at it, FAQs for teachers, FAQs for students. That might be helpful to you. But you may notice up here at the top, there's an FCPS Canvas announcements. Usually what happens is somebody goes, oh my gosh, Paula, or that announcement said something about Google, and now Google's messed up, and I closed it, and what do I do? If you come to the Canvas announcements, what I do is I try to, if it's something that's important that needs to stick around, documentation, I'm going to link it up here. And you can see I've linked workarounds for when Google tools are misbehaving, and I even embedded it over here because it's happening so much right now. So at any time, I just want you to know that you can get back to some of this, and you can get back to what I'm showing you here by going into the FCPS help for Canvas. So I'm going to stop. I've talked to you. I've talked at you all this time. What questions do you have or comments? Yes. Alexandra, that's a good question. She says the internet issue or Canvas issue. Honestly, based on something that happened yesterday, I don't know that it's Canvas's fault. I think the traffic is honestly so heavy that both Canvas and Google are both struggling with the worldwide demand that's being put on them. So I don't know if I can point a finger at either one of them at the moment. It could be internet, it could be Canvas, but it also could be Google. So there's a possibility of a breakdown at any of those points. So Alexandra, what I had shown everybody earlier are some ways to work around for those students so that maybe they can still get something to be submitted. I'm recording right now, and I would stick around and show you some more, but I have a department meeting at 3:30, so I'm going to have to hop off here in just a second. But Alexandra, I'll have the, hey, bye, Adriana. Bye, Jeanette. I hope this was helpful. But Alexandra, you can rewatch the video, or you can always make a one-on-one appointment with me if you want to. That's obviously, that's something you can do as well. All right. So anybody else have questions? Was a lot. It's a lot of information, but I thought at least I could offer it in case you all are getting desperate and you want a way to kind of get your stuff and keep it going. So you all take care. Everybody stay safe. Bye. Have a good one.